Welcome everybody to course number 1, and course number 1 is our introduction. Now, during this introduction we are not just going to be talking small things, but we're going to right away give you, if you scroll down on your screen, we're going to give you the audio file that is going to be critical for you to help you quit smoking. Now, all you're going to be having to do is basically lay down on a couch or on a chair and put on some headphones, because headphones is good. It will help you kind of disassociate yourself from the environment. Or if you just are in a very quiet place and there's no distraction, lay down and play your audio file. Now, that's all really you're going to have to be doing. You're going to have to not do anything else. However, before we start the audio file, I'd like you to scroll down on the page below you, and there are some questions. Now, the first question is, what are some of the benefits the cigarettes has for you? Now, you may say there's no benefits, I want to quit, but if you think harder and deeper, you're going to find that there are some reasons as to why you smoke. Very often I have seen that people feel it helps me relax, or I go out with friends, and when I'm with friends, everybody else is smoking, so I don't want to leave them alone, or I don't want to feel out of the group. So there are some perceived benefits that perhaps you may not have been so much consciously aware of as of today, but when you think about it carefully, I want you to write those down. This is important because we want to become aware of our habits and our patterns. And so when you write this down, we're going to then have a small list of a few benefits that you perceive. Now, then the next question is, what are the reasons I like to quit? And I want you to write this down too. This is important. As a matter of fact, this is very important before you're going to lay down and listen to your audio track. Why is this important? Because what we need to do is we need to find some reasons as to why I want to change. I want to change this habit. I need to know consciously my reasons for change. So in other words, this stimulates your motivation. I need to have some reasons. Now, what I suggest is try to find reasons that are not so much outside of yourself. For example, not like, oh, my husband or my wife wants me to quit. And that is kind of a 50-50 kind of a reason, because what's important is, why do you want to quit? Because the motivation needs to come from you. It needs to be a reason as to why you want to change. Because the more close it is to you, the more strong the motivation is. Even though, and mind you, this is important, even though when you perhaps may not be convinced at this point that you can do it. Don't worry about that, because that's what our audio track, that's what our repetition will help you accomplish, right? So don't worry about whether you feel right now I am able to make those changes, but here are the reasons as to why I like to make those changes. And that's all that is required of you in this first session. Answer some of these questions that are written down here and have those kind of ready in your conscious mind. Become more aware that as when you are listening to this audio track, you're able to fill in some of these gaps that are there in this track that require your alternative as to why I want to stop, and I have some reasons as to what are my motivations, right? Another important question will be, some of these benefits that I perceive that I receive when I'm smoking, can I replace this with some better things to do? For example, let's say you feel that it helps you relax. Now, whether the cigarette actually helps you relax or not, I'll leave it in the middle, because technically speaking, it is up for debate whether the cigarette actually helps you relax. And I can go into a more lengthy explanation, but at this point, that is really just more technical. In reality, we ask ourselves, let's say you think this cigarette helps you to relax. Can I find something else to do in my day-to-day life that would help me relax? For example, could I sit down and close my eyes and do some breathing, for example? Could I go for a little walk around the block near my house? Could I do some yoga exercises? Could I listen to some relaxing music? Because if the cigarette is a coping mechanism, then I need to replace it with something else. If I just take that away and I don't give an alternative, then it becomes more difficult for the mind to find peace. So I need to become more aware of some alternative ways in which I can find this relaxation. Now, at the moment you may not have all these answers, but since we want you to repeat this track over and over again, I want you to become aware of this question. What are some of the alternative methods I can introduce in my life that would help me relax instead of using the cigarette? Now, this again is important for this script because as you are listening to it, we want you eventually to have these answers as to, yes, I have some alternatives that I can use, that I can start to use, where we can start to change and program your behavior. And so this is a matter of programming, and this script, this method that we're teaching here, is a method to help you reprogram your subconscious mind. And we need then replacement mechanisms, we need replacement ideas. And you will over time find these ideas by yourself, because when you are listening every day to this track, you start to think about it during the day, when you're at work, when you're taking a walk, you start to think about, hey, you know what, I could use this instead. So you don't worry too much if you don't have all the answers right now. You will get it over the course of this process that we're helping you get familiar with here. So that is all for today. This is all for your introduction, and good luck with the introduction session, class number 1.